Hello there everyone, and welcome back to Void War Studios, where we go back to our original programming, because, oh my, have we been off the rails a bit lately. But, hopefully that's all going to be fixed now, and we're going to try and keep this content coming out relatively regular, as planned. Unless someone wants to recommend something from my Patreon page, or on YouTube. You never know, I like to mix it up a little bit. But, back to what we were doing. So last time we talked about Volkite Berserkers. Today, we will look up the upgrade from the Volkite Berserkers, the natural progression for any particularly skilled warriors from the Fyreslayer lodges, the Auric Hearthguard, and the Hearthguard Berserkers. And we'll start off with the Hearthguard because, well, that's just a nice place to start, honestly, and I've got this lovely piece of artwork to, thanks to Games Workshop. Anyway, Hearthguard. So what do they do? How do they fight, and what do you want to do with them in your army? So, the Hearthguard is a Volkite Berserker who has been promoted to protect the temples and priests in the various holds in the different realms. It is a Hearthguard's duty to protect these places, and he is bound by sacred oaths to make sure that they never fall to the enemy. And in order to do this, not only are they given some pretty cool looking armor to elevate their status and show how wonderful and shiny they are, but they also get a wonderful little weapon known as a Magma Pike. This gorgeous feat of dwarven engineering essentially is a lava-spitting flamethrower. Yes, it shoots hot lava at things. So yeah, there's not many ways you can defend against that unless you have some kind of magical means, or just, well, plot armor, effectively. But it doesn't stop there. These molten globulets that fire out from these magma pikes form into solid rock, volcanic rock. So, if you're shot by one of these things, it will not only, well, burn you alive, but you'll also be rooted to the spot. This is nicely represented in the tabletop game. So, a Hearthguard has the following stat profile. They get 4-inch movement, which is pretty standard for dwarves, 2 wounds apiece, which is always nice, 7 bravery and a 5+ save. And that save can't be improved in any other way. So, yeah, mixed blessing. They're not quite as tough as your Volkite Berserkers, but they do make up for it in the following ways. First up, they are armed with the Magma Pikes, and they also have Fire Steel throwing axes. I'm not entirely sure why you would bother throwing an axe when you've got this beautiful halberd flamethrower gun thing, but hey ho, I suppose it's nice that they have their little axes. They are dwarves after all. The Magma Pike is primarily a ranged weapon. It has a range of 18 inches, so it's not going to outrange anything that the Lumineth have got, but it's going to be pretty damn powerful up close, and really that's where you want these guys to be anyway. 2 attacks each, well, 2 shots each, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, with a -1 rend and 1 damage. Not bad, not half bad. And in melee, the thing's not too terrible either. 1 attack, so, not as good, but it's hitting and wounding on 3s, with 1 damage, which, that's pretty damn respectable, but it's the abilities that bring them up to something that's a bit more useful. So the first one's called Molten Rock Bolts. You add 1 to the damage characteristic for attacks made by the missile weapon profile when you target monsters. So, that's pretty nice. You now have 2 attacks with -1 rend and doing 2 damage apiece, so that's pretty darn decent, but it gets better. In addition, if any wounds are inflicted on a monster by the Magma Pike, you roll a dice. On a 4+, until the end of the unit's next turn, you halve their movement, and you subtract 1 from their hit rolls, made for that unit for the rest of the turn. So yeah, that's potentially got all kinds of fun implications, because it means that the big monster creatures, which, could be a real problem, you not only can do more damage against them, but you can also slow them right down and reduce their effectiveness. So yeah, that's pretty damn handy. That's pretty damn handy indeed. And finally, you have Swan Protectors. This is to represent the fact that these guys are around purely for defending the priesthood and some of the more upper echelons of Fyreslayer society, as well as the wonderful, wonderful fiery temples. Anyway, Swan Protector. You roll a dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to a friendly Fyreslayer hero, so long as it's not mounted on a Magma Drop, and one of these dudes is within 3 inches of them. On a 4+, that mortal wound is negated, and you choose a friendly unit with this ability to suffer the mortal wound instead. So basically, they have a bodyguard rule, which means that they will take the damage instead of the priest or hero on foot. That's pretty damn handy. It means that whilst you can't really protect your leaders when they're on magma drops, you can protect the ones on foot. So for example, if you popped up behind a tunnel with, say, if you popped up behind them with a rune smiter, then these guys can protect him from taking mortal wounds, or well, any wounds in fact. So that's not half bad. And that's really all there is to say at the moment about Magma Pikes and the Hearthguard who wield them. They are a fantastic short-range weapon, which is very, very useful against monsters, and okay against most other things. I do love how the weapon looks though. Oh, last thing actually. The leader of the unit, the Carl, has a special Magma Pike, which gets an extra attack. So now your unit of 5, which is the minimum size you can have, you've got a total of 11 shots. That's not half bad at all. And bearing in mind there are ways to help improve your chances to hit things, yeah, that's not too bad at all. And now we get on to, personally, my favourite variation, the Hearthguard Berserkers. So, the Berserkers are the chosen champions of the Runefather. It is these guys' job to go forward with the Runefathers and Runesons, and reap a bloody tally against anyone unfortunate enough to get too close. And when you're armed with such a gorgeous weapon as the Flame Strike Poleaxe, yeah, this is it's quite a hilarious unit. So very similar profile to the Hearthguard. The only difference is that they are slightly braver, with a bravery of 8. I'm guessing that's because they're a little bit more bonkers than their more steady and stern Hearthguard brethren. But anyway, these Berserkers, they have fire steel throwing axes, because everyone does, and you can give them a choice of weaponry. You can either equip the entire unit with the Hearthguard Flame Strike Poleaxe, that wonderful thing with the chain on the end, or you can give them Berserker Broadaxes. So what is the difference? Well, first up, let's look at the profile. Profile is, for a broad blade axe, it has a 2-inch range, so, it's not too bad. 2 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s with -1 rend and 2 damage. So that's a pretty damn solid profile. The Flame Strike Poleaxe, whilst having the same range, attack, hit and wound profile, it doesn't rend and it only has the 1 damage. So why do you take a poleaxe, you ask? This is why. The Smouldering Brazier rule. If the unmodified hit roll of a poleaxe is a 6, that attack inflicts 2 mortal wounds on the target, in addition to any normal damage. So yeah, the poleaxe has the capacity to really cause more damage quickly, so long as you're rolling 6s, of course. And this ability makes a poleaxe go from it's an okay weapon to a wonderful weapon. And they have one other ability that makes them, quite frankly, hilarious, called Duty Unto Death, representing the fact that these Fyreslayers are sworn to protect their liege lord. You roll a dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to this unit. You add 2 to the roll if there are any friendly Fyreslayer heroes nearby, so long as they're within 10 inches. On a 6+, that wound is negated. Doesn't matter if it's a mortal wound either. So, yeah, that's potentially hilarious. And as I said, you add 2 to the roll if there's a friendly Fyreslayer hero nearby. So potentially, on a 4+, you can just say, nope, I'm not taking any damage, screw you. Which is why these guys are freaking hilarious. And honestly, a unit that I fully intend to add to my army at some point. Although I do love those Magma Pikes. And they could be pretty handy against monster-heavy armies. But no, the Berserkers I do love. They are better all-round competition and fighting, and, well, those poleaxes are just hilarious. So, this was a relatively quick video today, because Fyreslayers don't actually have that many units, per se. We've now gotten onto the elite echelons, and after this video we're going to be starting to talk about characters and how best you can implement them in your games. This is a fairly straightforward video. The Hearthguard should be really on your flanks, slowing the enemy down and protecting your more valuable units, and the Berserker should be close to your Runefather or Runeson, or any hero really, and just throw them into the biggest thing you can find. And so long as you're rolling those 6s, that poleaxe is going to cause all kinds of problems. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this relatively quick little video. I will continue to try and make these, and the next one's going to be orcs, because I've not done an orc one in a while, and the last one we did was Gretchen. And yeah, we need to get back to that. Anyway, thank you all so much for your support and your subscriptions. It means the world to me. And I hope you're enjoying the content on this channel, and I look forward to hearing from you all soon. Take care, everyone.